1 month ago, I planted and filled up my first ever 8-foot aquarium. Not much to look at to start with, but after 1 month, it's turned into something absolutely amazing. This is currently the only system that runs on CO2 in my whole studio, and as you can see, the plants have just taken off because of it. Not just in size, but the vibrancy as well, and the density of the plants. We've added fish steadily over time, starting with the tetras, and then in the last few weeks, we've added in flag acara, as well as some keyhole cichlids as well, and they have settled right in. I knew the keyhole cichlids would be out in the open a lot, but I wasn't expecting to see the flag acara so often as well. Everyone is very, very confident and always out in the open, giving you something awesome to look at. So it's now been over a month since I planted this tank and filled it with water, and it's doing so well. I cannot believe the results. The growth is insane in that time, and the quality of how everything's looking as well is just top notch. But it's not been without its setbacks though. After a couple of weeks, it started to get some murky water. This is basically the tank cycling itself. It's breeding bacteria, then it's dying off and then breeding back again. And then, as is often the case, we hit a dreaded diatom algae phase. This is like a brown algae that goes over everything. Completely normal and will go in time. But I decided to speed things up by adding some bristlenose plecos and a decent sized group of Amano shrimp. The Amano shrimp set to work straight away, just pecking at everything, and I literally came in the next morning and it was all gone from the foreground. Still a little bit of green algae on the foreground sand, but not that brown diatoms anymore. So yeah, fast forwarding now to another few weeks, and as you can see, everything is just looking perfect. The sand isn't pure white anymore, which I think makes it look so much better. When it's pure white, I don't think it looks sort of natural, but in this instance, look at that bristle nose there, loving you. Yeah, when the sand is completely pure white, I just don't think it looks natural, but when it's got this slightest of sort of greenness to it from just background algae, I think it looks perfect. And like I say, I'm massively happy with the growth of those background plants. Look at that, filling it right in. I will keep a negative space in this area here where you can see the black background. I will dip it there and I'll probably bring it all the way up over the top, and then a little dip that side as well, and then over the top again. Another great thing that's happening is the Monte Carlo now. Look, you can see that all of these little leaves are all underwater growth. It's converted, it looks different to this when it's out of water. The leaves are a little bit bigger, and then they go more tiny, and they're spreading all these runners now into the sand, which means this whole front area eventually, I'll keep it tamed, will be a nice green sort of foreground that ties into the rocks. That's gonna look so good. So yeah, obviously today's video is about adding the angelfish. There's a few little jobs we need to do first because I want it to be perfect before I put them in, because if you put them in and start putting your hands on there, it's gonna freak them right out. Not massive amounts of work to do, to be honest. It's almost on its autopilot phase. I tend to find that after 4 weeks, a tank is normally there. I've got quite good at spotting what needs to change in the period before that because I've done so many tanks now. And when I first did this one, I did think it might be a headache, but to be honest, the same things that I applied to all my other tanks, no matter what size, I've applied to this one and it's worked really well. So for instance, for front on, the glass looks absolutely clear, doesn't it? But it's not. The side-on view can show that there's like a slight mist on all of the glass, which is to be expected. And then I'm not sure if the camera can pick it up, but there's like a sort of level of algae down here. I don't know why just this section. Maybe it's something I missed to scrape off before, because there's not a thick patch like that anywhere else. It must be just where I left it. As I always say though, if there's one type of algae you don't mind having, it's a little bit of misting on the glass. It's just completely easy to get rid of. I've got a couple of tools I use. I'll use them both actually. I've got a glass scraper, which I'll use to get into that sort of tougher section down here on the bottom glass. And for a tank this size, I've just got like the magnet one, but it's a really strong magnet because this glass is thick. So in terms of maintenance sessions so far, I've not had many. I think I've done a water change on this once, maybe twice, just a little bit. But other than that, I've not had to do any, which is good because it's a lot of water and it takes a lot of time. Now that little area there just come off really easy. I always use the scraper for getting off stubborn bits of like green spot algae on the glass because it just works instantly. And now we can switch it up and go to the magnet scrubber. Yeah, and this is the one I've got. Now it's so powerful, look at this. Sometimes I've accidentally picked it up and had my finger like this and put it near it, and look. Take your finger off. It's very, very strong. It's actually really hard to pull apart as well, but because we've got such thick glass, we do need that. Otherwise, you're just moving it gently. This side's got like the Velcro grippy part. This is the fluffy one, so inside, outside. There's some attachments you can put on, but I don't bother with that. I like to just use it as it is. Yeah, it's just a case of plopping it in the water, put it near, there we go. Don't get any fish caught in between them, because that would be goodbye. Now, I know a lot of people, they do get annoyed with the amount of plants that I sort of put in to start with. I've just found it so much easier to be able to maintain the tanks, all of these tanks that I've got, if I start with the heavy planting. And I know not everyone can do that, but I do suggest that you get as many plants as you can to start with. It just helps so much, because they're going to be eating any sort of ammonia. Eating? No, they wouldn't be eating, using, I guess. They're going to use ammonia and nitrate and things like that in your aquarium to grow. So even though this tank was like a completely brand new setup and we put in a lot of fish in one go, next day I'm testing the water, and the day after that as well, not a single bit of ammonia in the whole tank. Obviously we've got decent water volume, this is 1,000 litres, but at the same time, there's a good amount of fish going into a brand new unfiltered tank. I left it 2 weeks before the fish went in, of course, but still, yeah, not a single bit of ammonia. Plants just eat ammonia so fast. So yeah, why not put in as many plants as you can? And obviously I'm at advantage, I've got plants dotted around in all of the tanks that I can just take trimmings off and add to, which is what I did a lot with these ones here. I mean, they were nowhere near this big, of course, but still, yeah, start with lots of plants, guys. Literally, you can't go wrong. It's worth the investment. And it is an investment, because as they grow, you can trim, replant, then you've got double. And then before you know it, that's double, you know, exponential growth, and you're just winning. There we go, that's the glass clean. Actually made quite a difference. I don't know if it comes out on camera, but yeah, everything's looking a lot more sharper now. Now in the top section, look, you can see up the one reflection. This top section, there's a load of plants that have come sort of loose or what have you. There are obviously the scraggly ones that didn't make it. There's a couple of long ones there I'll replant. The rest, I just need to scoop it out and then we're good. Now the tank doesn't actually need a water change if you go by the parameters. There's no ammonia, there's no nitrite. Nitrates are of a good level, but I think I'm going to give it one anyway, just because there's a slight sort of tint to the water still, and that'll be the last parts of the tannins from the wood leaching out. So get that clear. I'm going to do a 50%er, which is actually quite a lot. It's still 500 litres, so it might take a while. Obviously we'll speed that up. So the tank's still filling up, it's taking ages, but in the meantime, I'm going to take out the filter, whoops, and just see what's happened to it within a month. I'm not expecting it to be like especially dirty, but I'm intrigued, I just want to see what it's like. So I'm closing off the taps first. I think there's usually some back pressure, so it's probably going to spray. Yeah, a little bit. And a little bit that side. That's okay, I can clean that up after. Okay, so that's a month in the ugliest startup phase of the tank. Now the sponges, they look pretty good to me. I mean, I could take this all out and clean it, but I don't think there's any point at the moment. It'll probably do more harm than good to just reset everything by cleaning both the filters out, so I'm not going to do anything to them. I'm just going to leave them. I'll probably give it another month. This is going to make a mess going back on though, for sure. Good job my floor is waterproof. Get the hoover on that. Yeah, so the way around it all spilling everywhere like I just did there is you can just drain off a little bit of water from that plug, which I just couldn't be bothered, to be honest. Now I dare say though, if this tank was full of like big African cichlids, no plants and loads of poop going into the water column being sucked up by the filters, then it would be way, way worse than that. But obviously we've got a lot of small fish, and a lot of the waste they do produce will sit down on the substrate layer and eventually go into that, creating nutrients for the plants again. This is why a lot of people ask me that. They say, oh, how do you vacuum your sand? Well, I don't vacuum the sand in any of my tanks or even at Aquasoil, not at all, because that's all nutrients that works its way down. I guess that would be like new viewers to the channel, but yeah, I don't vacuum anything ever, apart from when I spill water everywhere. All right, you can switch everything back on again. There we go. Right then, that's everything prepped. I don't feel like there's anything more we need to do. It's absolutely looking the best it has since I set it up, for sure. It's time to put in those angelfish. I'm so excited to see how the other fish behave with a larger fish in there. Again, the angelfish aren't too big, and these are a good sized tetra. I've had all of them for a long time, and they're not like, you know, you're putting in tinky little neons. They would get eaten even by this size angelfish, because any fish will eat another fish if it fits in its mouth. These are all a good size, so we've got nothing to worry about there. And here they are, and they're currently living with a load of red phantoms. There was way more in with them, but I moved them already over to the 8 foot, and these are the ones that sort of I couldn't catch out and hid. Now, the chances of me catching these fish with this amount of plants it's just not happening. I'm gonna have to take everything out to be able to catch them. The minute I put a net in there, I might get 1 or 2, and the rest of them are just gonna go on the back. So yeah, I'm gonna have to break down the tank. I wanna do something new anyway. I'm not a fan of taking out fish that were designed for the tank and then putting different ones in. It just feels, I don't know, it just feels wrong. So yeah, break it down, catch them out nice and calmly, and we can put them in. Okay, so I've removed a lot of the decor in there. Just gonna let all that dust settle. It won't take long at all. But down here, you can see I've saved a ton of the plants. Look at the root systems on these crypts here, looking so good. I've got some really nice long val there as well. I might replant that back in after we catch the fish out. And I've got this really nice Echinodorus here as well. We've got some stems, we've got a lotus, we've got some ericolon, I don't know how to say that. And we've got some nice Lobelia cardinalis there as well. Now, I want to put these plants in the new ecosystem tanks that we've set up here. I mean, they've been running now for over a week. They can add some new plants in. They're going to do absolutely brilliantly in there, and I can keep them growing, and I can, you know, take them out later on when I want them as well for other setups. There we go, looking smart, and I'll definitely be reusing a lot of these plants. They're the best of the bunch. The others were pretty good, but they was being starved of light and that, so I've saved all the best ones. We can reuse them again. And I've just put a little power head in the tank, get that nice and clear, and then I should be able to catch them a lot easier. It's clearing pretty quickly, to be fair. I can already see the back of the tank, look. Well, almost. Right, the water's cleared enough, and I've got a bucket down here ready to put the fish in, because they're too big to be put in little pots. So I'm gonna transfer them into that. This is probably gonna take a while. It's gonna make a mess. There's no point in me filming this bit. Right, it actually went a lot better than I was expecting. I used a double net method. What you do is you drive the fish into the other net rather than just chasing it all around with one net, and it worked well. I caught all of the red phantoms in one swoop actually, which was very lucky. And the angels are down here in the bucket. I'll try and get them all in one for less stress. Should be able to do it. They're not massive, so we're all good. Right, let's get the red phantoms in first so they can join their buddies. There you go. All the temperatures matching, by the way, guys. Don't worry about that. The whole room is heated, but oh, straight away they joined their little group. That's brilliant. It was almost like the whole group knew they were coming. That's pretty sweet. I've actually transferred the angels into this little tank because it's easier to see and easy to pour into the tank as well. That bucket's way too big, but yeah, we've got 7 really nice angels here. Right then, here we go. I'm really keen just to see how all the other fish react to the angels being in there. Maybe they won't care at all, but at least to start with, they definitely will be weary. I'm just gonna pour them straight in. There they are. Well, they've all currently decided to huddle down in this corner. We'll give them a minute, they'll get used to it. The other fish are definitely aware something's going on down here, and they're starting to have a little look now. I don't think it'll be long and they'll be exploring everywhere. Oh, see, and this is why we love keyhole cichlids. They've come over to say hello. Hi, guys. Yeah, it's very nice here. I've come a bit too close there, I'm just scaring them. Colours are already starting to look a lot better. I mean, it's probably due to the fact that this tank has got 4 bright lights above it, so any colours on any fish just do look really good in this tank. Okay, it's been about an hour and we're starting to get some progress. Well, kind of. The two biggest are right out in the front here. They're really taking their time with it. A little bit of a dispute there as to whose area this is, but they'll settle down when they realise they've got this whole tank to explore. The rest of them are tucked behind in that area. Now that's where the flagger coral went as well, and the keyhole cichlers, but obviously they're out everywhere now. Last time the feeding worked really well, so I think what I'm going to do is do a nice big feed and hopefully get them out. Now obviously the angels are used to me feeding with this pot and they know the tap, so they should be expecting some food now. And they'll see the rest. There we go, look, they're all coming up, that's better. Here we go, right, let's get it right in the water column straight away. Crumbling it up into the water, so it actually goes in the flow and falls down. Big ones are right out, look at that. There's nothing like a bit of food to make new fish feel at home in their aquarium. These guys are interested, they're interested, but they're gonna stay down there for the time. It's a pecking order thing, isn't it? You know, the largest fish are often the most brave fish, and that's why they're so big, is because they're first to the food. Oh, that's so cool. Yes. So this strain, I think it's not Pinoy, is it? But they've got a nice blue to them. I think it's like your sort of standard colour that isn't an ultim, do you know? Because obviously ultims are way, way bigger than these guys. These guys will still get a little bit bigger, but you can see tetra size, there's no way any of the tetras are going anywhere near, you know, in their mouths. They're nowhere near big enough. Oh, but that is so cool. The other fish, I didn't think there'd be this calm around them, but they are. I suppose that's a good thing, you know. There's lots of different sizes now and different fish to be able to look at, which is awesome. That's the look I was going for. Different things catching the eye. I would like some cories at some stage, but I do want the Monte Carlo to grow in and spread a little bit more first. Now, if I was to add a group of cories, it would only be a small number, again, just for interest. I think we're sort of reaching the capacity in this tank of the stocking level, not in terms of filtration. The filter can easily handle what we've got in there. Just from like a visual perspective, I mean, even what I've got in there now for some people would be too much. Some people would want to see like a couple of kinds of fish and maybe the big group of angels. But I don't know, I just like having all this interest, and everyone I've had in the studio, friends and family so far, have just absolutely loved it. So yeah, from a sort of hardcore purist point of view, it's probably a bit of a mismatch. But from people coming in and being like, wow, can you do something like this or whatever, I think it's this sort of fish stocking that really excites people, you know? Fish stocking is always going to be like a personal choice though, isn't it? So it's now a day later and the fish have really settled in there all over the tank now. Looks like that feed-in really did the trick, or they could just possibly have done that anyway. And when I was filming these shots, I just sat back and thought, wow, I've really done something here that I'm massively proud of. I never thought I'd be having an 8-foot fish tank, partly because I was quite scared of the idea of that much water. Not the water itself, but you know, maintaining the aquarium and that sort of thing. But because I've learned so much now over the last 4 or 5 years, I just applied the same practices that I've been doing with all of my aquariums during this time. Not just to the build itself, but also to the maintenance. You know, in those first stages, I was tempted to get in there and clean everything and clean the filter and that, and I didn't. I just left it because I knew that's what I've done previously and it's worked well, and that was the case in this one as well. So yeah, that's kind of like a message to everyone. Don't panic after the 2 to 3 week phase when your aquarium stops looking pristine. Looks like it's going massively downhill. It's just a balancing act, and the aquarium's trying to get balanced itself. You know, with planted aquariums, even when there are no fish in the aquarium, especially when new, there's a lot of degrading plant matter as the plants try and sort of convert to that underwater growth. You get a lot of leaves dying off. You've also got new wood in there that's releasing tannins, so it's fluctuating the pH. This period can take a number of weeks to sort of balance out to a point where you're happy with. It can take up to a month, to be honest, to get what I would call sort of perfect. Usually within a month, my aquariums are pretty well balanced. All you've really got to focus on is getting those plants growing with a good substrate system and enough lighting. And I say enough, not too much will cause algae. As I always say, if your plants are growing and you're still getting algae, then it's definitely too much light. But the plants fix everything. It's why I put so many in every one of my aquariums. It would not be possible for me to do what I do without that. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this whole series. I know I have. The tank is still going to evolve and go on from strength to strength. I can't wait to show you the progress.